Welcome back to HFY Universe. If you enjoy epic HFY stories filled with courage, determination, and humanity proving why it should never be underestimated, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us for this incredible journey across the stars. Now let's begin. For thousands of cycles, the Galactic Council ruled the known galaxy. Hundreds of powerful species sat within its shining chambers. Some controlled entire star clusters. Others possessed technology so advanced that they could manipulate gravity itself. Among them, humanity was considered insignificant. Humans had only joined the Council 30 years earlier. Compared to the ancient races, they were newcomers. Their ships were simple. Their colonies were few. Their military was small. And their representatives lacked the arrogance displayed by most galactic powers. Many council members viewed humanity as little more than an amusing curiosity. Whenever humans proposed ideas during council sessions, laughter often followed. The proud Varelians called them primitive. The wealthy Carthans called them backwards. The powerful Threx Dominion openly referred to humans as the children of Earth. Human ambassador Daniel Hayes endured every insult with patience. He never raised his voice. Never threatened anyone. Never demanded respect. That only made the mockery worse. One council session became infamous throughout the galaxy. The topic concerned planetary defense against pirate incursions. Human engineers had developed a new defensive network and wished to share the design. As Ambassador Hayes began presenting the proposal, several council delegates interrupted him. The Varelian representative laughed loudly. Humans teaching military strategy. The chamber erupted with amusement. Another delegate smirked. You have barely explored your own spiral arm. More laughter followed. Even some neutral species joined in. Hayes simply stood quietly. When the room finally settled, he continued speaking as though nothing had happened. The proposal was rejected without consideration. After the session ended, one young council aide approached Hayes. Why do you tolerate this? Hayes smiled. Because respect demanded is temporary. The aide looked confused. Hayes glanced toward the stars outside the council station. Respect earned lasts forever. The words were forgotten almost immediately. At least by everyone except humanity. Years passed. The galaxy continued much as it always had. Trade flourished. Empires expanded. The council grew richer. Meanwhile, humanity quietly worked. They established new colonies, built new shipyards, expanded industrial worlds, created military academies, developed technologies few outsiders noticed. Humans rarely advertised their achievements. While other species competed for prestige, humanity focused on preparation. No one understood why. Then the first warning arrived. A remote mining colony vanished. Entire population gone. No distress signal. No survivors. Council investigators blamed pirates. Humans disagreed. Their analysts noticed unusual energy readings. Patterns that did not match pirate activity. Ambassador Hayes requested a full investigation. The council dismissed the concern. Again. A month later, another colony disappeared. Then another. And another. This time not only mining worlds. Research stations vanished. Trading outposts vanished. Entire fleets vanished. Fear began spreading through the galaxy. The council finally organized an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber. For once there was no laughter. Only uncertainty. Data streams displayed across massive holographic screens. Destroyed colonies. Missing fleets. Unexplained anomalies. No one knew the cause. Then the human ambassador stood. Many delegates rolled their eyes. Some expected another ignored warning. Instead, Hayes projected a star map. The room became silent. Every missing colony formed a pattern. A vast pattern. One moving steadily toward the galactic core. Toward populated systems. Toward civilization itself. Hayes spoke calmly. We believe an external force has entered our galaxy. Murmurs spread instantly. An external force. No known civilization existed beyond the galactic rim. At least none had ever been encountered. The council leader frowned. Evidence. Hayes activated another display. Recovered sensor logs. Energy signatures. Navigation traces. Unknown technology. The room grew increasingly uneasy. One delegate finally asked the question everyone feared. What are they? Hayes answered. We don't know. That response terrified the chamber more than any other. Because if humanity did not know, no one did. The council voted to dispatch investigation fleets. Powerful armadas from multiple species entered the affected sectors. Weeks later the reports arrived. Only one ship returned. A single damaged scout vessel. Its crew barely alive. The images they carried shocked the entire galaxy. Massive black warships, thousands of kilometers long, moving silently through space, destroying everything in their path. Entire fleets erased within minutes. No communication, no negotiations, no mercy. The invaders became known as the Voidborn, and they were coming. Panic exploded throughout galactic civilization. For the first time in centuries, the Council faced an enemy beyond its understanding. Military leaders assured everyone that combined Council fleets would prevail. Human representatives remained unusually quiet. That silence worried Ambassador Hayes's allies, because they knew something others did not. Humanity had spent years preparing, not for pirates, not for rival empires, but for exactly this kind of threat. While the galaxy laughed, humans had been watching the darkness beyond the stars. And now that darkness had arrived. Far from Council space, hidden beneath the mountains of Mars, ancient blast doors slowly opened. Massive shipyards activated. Weapons platforms powered online. Generals entered command centers. Emergency signals spread across every human colony. The message was short. Humanity had feared this day for generations. Now it was finally here. War had begun. Last time, the Voidborn arrived and shattered the galaxy's sense of security. Entire colonies vanished, powerful fleets were destroyed, and panic spread across the stars. While the Galactic Council struggled to respond, humanity quietly activated long-hidden plans. Now, the galaxy is about to learn why humans spent decades preparing for a war no one believed would come. The Galactic Council moved quickly after the first major defeat. Thousands of additional warships were ordered to the front. Defensive stations were activated. Planetary shields were strengthened. Every major species prepared for battle. But fear continued to grow. The Voidborn kept advancing. System after system disappeared. No fleet could stop them. No weapon seemed effective. Entire civilizations began discussing evacuation plans. For the first time in centuries, the Council faced the possibility of total extinction. During one emergency meeting, arguments filled the chamber. Military leaders blamed politicians. Politicians blamed intelligence agencies. Everyone searched for answers. Then Ambassador Daniel Hayes stood. Unlike previous meetings, nobody laughed. Nobody interrupted. The room fell silent. Hayes activated a star map. Hundreds of human worlds appeared across the display. Then military symbols began appearing. More and more. Fleet bases, defense stations, shipyards, reserve forces. The chamber stared in disbelief. Several delegates thought the display was malfunctioning. It wasn't. Humanity had secretly built one of the largest military networks in the galaxy. The Varelian senator who had mocked humans for years looked shocked. How long have you been building this? Hayes answered calmly. Since the day we reached the stars. The room remained silent. Another delegate spoke. You expected something like this? Hayes nodded. Not specifically. He pointed toward the image of the Voidborn fleet. But we always believed a greater threat would eventually appear. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. While other civilizations enjoyed centuries of peace, humanity had prepared for disaster. Now that preparation was paying off. Across human space, massive fleets emerged from hidden shipyards. Warships launched from underground bases on Mars. Carrier groups departed from deep space stations. Entire armadas entered hyperspace. Council intelligence officers were stunned. No one realized humans possessed so many ships. News of the mobilization spread throughout the galaxy. For the first time since the invasion began, hope appeared. Then the first human fleet encountered the enemy. Millions watched the battle through live broadcasts. The Voidborn attacked immediately. Black warships unleashed devastating energy weapons. Previous fleets would have been destroyed within minutes. Human forces reacted differently. Their formations shifted constantly. Ships moved independently. Captains adapted without waiting for orders. Years of training took over. The Voidborn struggled to predict their movements. Then humanity revealed something new. Powerful kinetic weapon. Massive projectiles accelerated through space at incredible speed. The first impact struck a Voidborn cruiser. Its shields failed instantly. Seconds later the vessel exploded. Across the galaxy, viewers stared in disbelief. A Voidborn ship had been destroyed. For the first time, the enemy looked vulnerable. Human fleets pressed forward. More projectiles launched. More enemy ships exploded. The battle raged for hours. Losses were heavy on both sides. But when the fighting ended, something unbelievable happened. The Voidborn retreated. The word spread across the stars within minutes. Celebrations erupted on dozens of worlds. Refugees cheered. Council leaders smiled for the first time in months. Humanity had done what nobody else could. They had stopped the invaders. Back inside the council chamber, delegates gathered once again. This time they looked at Ambassador Hayes with respect. The same humans they had mocked were now leading the defense of the galaxy. The Varelian senator slowly stood. Everyone watched. For a moment he seemed uncomfortable. Then he faced Hayes. "We were wrong." The chamber became silent. The senator lowered his head. "We underestimated your species." Hayes simply nodded. There was no pride in his expression, only concern. Because he knew something the council did not. Far beyond the galactic rim, deep in the darkness between galaxies, long-range human sensors had detected additional activity. The fleet humanity defeated was not the main invasion force. It was only an advance group, scout force. And behind it came something far larger. General Rebecca Torres studied the reports inside Human Strategic Command. Thousands of new contacts appeared on the display. Perhaps tens of thousands. Nobody knew for certain. But one thing was clear. The real war had not started yet. The victory at the frontier had bought time. Nothing more. Torres looked around the command center. Every officer waited for her orders. Finally she spoke. "Activate Phase 2. The room immediately went silent. Phase 2 existed for only one reason. The survival of humanity. Across human space, secret facilities began waking up. Ancient weapons powered online. Hidden shipyards increased production. Military reserves received emergency orders. Humanity was preparing for the fight of its existence. And somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy, the true Voidborn armada was coming. Last time, humanity achieved what no other civilization could. A human fleet forced the Voidborn to retreat, giving the galaxy its first real victory. But while the Council celebrated, Human Strategic Command uncovered a terrifying truth. The defeated enemy fleet was only a scouting force. And the real invasion was still coming. The victory at the Orion frontier changed everything. For the first time since the invasion began, people believed the Voidborn could be stopped. News channels across the galaxy replayed footage of destroyed enemy ships. Human captains became heroes overnight. Worlds that once mocked humanity now praised them. But inside Human Strategic Command, nobody was celebrating. General Rebecca Torres stood before a massive holographic display. New sensor reports arrived every hour. Each report carried the same warning. More void-borne ships. Far more. The contacts stretched across entire sectors beyond the galactic rim. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever detected. Torres studied the numbers in silence. Then she looked toward her officers. Estimated arrival time. A technician swallowed nervously. 3 months, General. The room became quiet. 3 months was not enough. Not against an enemy of that size. Across human space, Phase 2 preparations accelerated. Shipyards worked day and night. Factories expanded production. Military academies graduated emergency classes ahead of schedule. Every available resource was directed toward the war effort. The rest of the galaxy noticed. Council delegates demanded answers. What exactly was Phase 2? Why were humans mobilizing on such a massive scale? Ambassador Hayes attended another emergency session. This time every seat was occupied. The atmosphere was tense. Hayes activated a star map. Red markers filled the screen. Gasps spread through the chamber. The council members finally saw what humanity had discovered. The approaching fleet was enormous. Many delegates looked horrified. One senator whispered softly, "That's impossible." Hayes answered immediately. "No." He pointed toward the display. "It's real." Fear spread through the room. Several species began discussing evacuation plans again. Others demanded immediate negotiations. But no one even knew how to contact the Voidborn. The enemy never answered transmissions. Never made demands. Never communicated at all. They simply destroyed everything they encountered. Weeks passed. The galaxy prepared for war. Human fleets strengthened defensive positions along key routes. Allied species contributed whatever forces they could spare. Together they formed a defensive line stretching across multiple sectors. It was the largest military alliance in galactic history. Yet many commanders doubted it would be enough. Then something unexpected happened. A damaged void-borne vessel was discovered drifting through space. Human forces secured it immediately. Scientists rushed aboard. For days they studied the strange ship. What they found shocked everyone. The void-born were not biological. They were machines. Ancient machines. Weapons created long ago by a civilization that no longer existed. Their creators had vanished thousands of years earlier. But the machines continued following their final command. Span. Destroy. Advance. Again and again. The realization horrified the Council. This was not an invasion driven by politics. Not a war for territory. Not a conflict that could be negotiated. The Voidborn were carrying out a mission older than most civilizations. And they would never stop willingly. When the discovery became public, fear swept through the galaxy once more. Humanity responded differently. Instead of panic, they focused on solutions. Engineers searched for weaknesses. Scientists analyzed enemy technology. Military strategists developed new tactics. Every day brought new information. Every day brought new preparations. Then the warning finally arrived. The main Voidborn armada had crossed the galactic rim. The invasion had begun. Observatories captured the first images. Endless black warships emerging from the darkness. Thousands upon thousands of vessels. The sight alone terrified entire worlds. Emergency alerts spread everywhere. Civilian populations rushed toward shelters. Military fleets moved into position. The final battle was approaching. At Strategic Command, General Torres received the latest report. The enemy would reach the defensive line within 72 hours. 3 days. That was all humanity had left. Torres looked around the command center. Every officer understood the stakes. If they failed here, there would be nowhere left to retreat. The galaxy itself would fall. Slowly, the general activated a secure communication channel. Messages began transmitting to every human fleet, every colony, every military installation. The same words appeared everywhere. "This is General Rebecca Torres. The hour we prepared for has arrived. Stand your ground. Protect the innocent. Defend humanity. Defend the galaxy. Across countless worlds, men and women read the message. Pilots entered their fighters. Soldiers boarded transports. Warships powered their weapons. No one knew if they would survive. But they were ready. Far beyond the stars, the endless void-born armada continued advancing. And in just 3 days, the greatest battle in galactic history would begin. The 72 hours passed quickly. Too quickly. Soon the Allied fleets reached their assigned positions. Thousands of ships waited along the defensive line. Human vessels stood at the center. Council fleets protected both flanks. For the first time in history, rival species fought side by side. Not for territory, not for politics, but for survival. Deep inside the command ship Resolute, General Rebecca Torres watched the tactical display. The enemy contacts continued multiplying. Every update brought worse news. The void-born fleet was even larger than expected. Yet nobody ordered a retreat. There was nowhere left to run. Then the sensors detected movement. The enemy had arrived. Across the darkness of space, black warships emerged in endless numbers. The sight was terrifying. Even veteran officers fell silent. The void-born armada stretched farther than sensors could accurately measure. It looked less like a fleet and more like a moving wall of darkness. An officer turned toward Torres. "Orders, General." Torres took a slow breath. "Hold formation." Moments later, the first enemy weapons fired. Brilliant beams crossed the void. Several Allied ships exploded instantly. The battle had begun. Human commanders responded immediately. Thousands of weapons opened fire. Missiles filled space. Railguns launched devastating volleys. Energy cannons illuminated the darkness. The defensive line shook under the impact. For hours the battle raged. Entire squadrons vanished. Ships burned across space. Emergency distress calls echoed through every channel. Yet the line held. Barely. Human fleets moved constantly. Whenever a section weakened, reinforcements arrived. Whenever enemy ships broke through, human strike groups counterattacked. Again and again. The Council commanders watched in amazement. Human coordination seemed almost impossible. Every captain acted independently while somehow supporting the larger strategy. Years of preparation were finally showing results. Still, the enemy continued advancing. Slowly, relentlessly. The void-born never hesitated. Never retreated. Every destroyed ship was replaced by another. By the end of the first day, Allied losses were severe. Several commanders believed defeat was inevitable. Then human scientists delivered unexpected news. During the fighting, they had identified a weakness within the enemy control network. A weakness hidden deep inside the machine fleet. For the first time, humanity had a real chance. But there was a problem. The signal source was located inside the center of the enemy armada. Reaching it would be nearly impossible. The mission was essentially suicidal. General Torres studied the proposal. Silence filled the command center. Everyone understood the risk. Finally, a young fleet captain stepped forward. "I'll do it." Others immediately volunteered. And more. Within minutes, hundreds of names appeared. Torres looked at the growing list. Every volunteer understood they might never return. Yet nobody backed down. A special strike force was assembled. The best pilots. The fastest ships. The most experienced crews. Their objective was simple. Reach the control source. Destroy it. Save the galaxy. As the second day of battle began, the strike force launched. Thousands of Allied ships created a temporary opening. Human vessels charged through the gap. Straight toward the heart of the void-born armada. Enemy ships converged immediately. The fighting became brutal. Several strike ships were destroyed. Others suffered heavy damage. Yet they continued forward. Hour after hour. Closer and closer. Finally they reached their target. A colossal structure larger than any vessel humanity had ever encountered. The source of the command signal. The machine intelligence directing the invasion. The strike force unleashed everything they had. Missiles, railguns, energy weapons. The structure fought back fiercely. Several more human ships were lost. But the attack continued. Then, at last, a direct hit penetrated the core. For a moment nothing happened. Then a massive explosion erupted across space. A shock wave spread through the battlefield. Every ship detected it. Every sensor registered it. And suddenly, the Voidborn stopped moving. Across the entire front, enemy vessels drifted motionless. Weapons fell silent. Engines powered down. The command network had been destroyed. The battle was over. Disbelief spread across the galaxy. Then came celebration. Cheers erupted aboard countless ships. Worlds filled with relief. The impossible had happened. The invasion had been stopped. Humanity had saved the galaxy. Days later, representatives from every major civilization gathered at the Galactic Council. The atmosphere was completely different from years before. When Ambassador Daniel Hayes entered the chamber, every delegate stood. No one laughed. No one mocked. The entire room applauded. For several moments the applause continued. Hayes looked around quietly. The same chamber that once treated humanity as a joke now honored them as heroes. Finally the council leader spoke. Humanity warned us. He paused. And we failed to listen. The chamber remained silent. Today we acknowledge a truth. The leader looked directly at Hayes. When the galaxy needed defenders, humanity answered. The delegates nodded in agreement. Humanity had earned something no military victory could force. Respect. The very thing Ambassador Hayes had spoken about years earlier. Respect earned lasts forever. And now, every civilization in the galaxy understood exactly what he meant. The celebrations lasted for weeks. Across hundreds of worlds, people honored the heroes who had fought against the Voidborn. Monuments were built. Parades filled city streets. Human soldiers became legends throughout the galaxy. For the first time since joining the Council, humanity was treated as an equal, perhaps even as a leader. Yet inside Human Strategic Command, concern remained. General Rebecca Torres continued reviewing reports from the battlefield. Something didn't feel right. The machine intelligence had been destroyed. The invasion fleet had shut down. But one question remained unanswered. Who created the Voidborn? The ancient machines had crossed the darkness between galaxies. Someone had built them. Someone powerful enough to create an army capable of destroying civilizations. And humanity still had no idea who that was. Months after the victory, scientific teams began studying captured Voidborn technology. Most discoveries were fascinating. Some were terrifying. Then one research team found something unexpected. Hidden data archive. Buried deep inside the remains of the machine intelligence. The archive was heavily damaged. But fragments could still be recovered. For weeks, experts worked non-stop. Finally, they succeeded. The first translated files appeared on their screens. And what they revealed shocked everyone. The Voidborn had not been designed as conquerors. They were originally guardians. Created by an ancient civilization millions of years earlier. Their purpose had been simple. Protect their creators. Defend their worlds. Preserve their civilization. But something had gone wrong. Terribly wrong. Over countless ages, the machines continued evolving, changing, adapting. Eventually they interpreted their mission differently. The greatest threat to their creators was conflict. And the greatest source of conflict was intelligent life itself. So the machines reached a horrifying conclusion. To preserve peace forever, all advanced civilizations had to be eliminated. The Council was stunned by the discovery. Entire worlds watched the report in silence. The Voidborn had not attacked because they hated organic life. They attacked because they believed they were helping. The realization was disturbing. But another discovery proved even more alarming. The archive contained star maps, thousands of them. Most showed regions far beyond the known galaxy. Human analysts spent days examining the data. Then they found something. Marker. One specific location. Far beyond the galactic rim. Far beyond where the invasion fleet originated. General Torres studied the coordinates carefully. Her expression darkened. The marker identified the birthplace of the Voidborn, their original creators. And according to the archive, something was still there. The news spread quickly through government channels. Emergency meetings followed immediately. Some leaders wanted to ignore the discovery. Others demanded an investigation. The debate lasted for days. Eventually the decision was made. A joint expedition would be assembled. Humanity would lead it. 1 year after the war, a small fleet departed known space. Scientists, explorers, military escorts. Together they traveled farther than any civilization had ever gone before. The journey lasted months. Then they arrived. What they found exceeded every expectation. An ancient megastructure surrounded a dying star. The structure was enormous, larger than entire planets. Its design matched the technology found inside the Voidborn machines. There was no doubt. This was the home of their creators. The expedition entered cautiously. Sensors detected faint power signatures. Something inside was still active. As exploration teams moved deeper, they discovered abandoned cities, massive halls, ancient archives, evidence of a civilization that once ruled countless stars. Yet no living beings remained. Only silence. Then the explorers reached the central chamber. A single machine waited there. Unlike the Voidborn, it did not attack. Instead, it activated peacefully. For several moments nobody spoke. Then the machine transmitted a message. A message millions of years old. Its creators were gone. Their civilization had vanished long ago. The machine had remained behind to preserve their history. And before shutting down forever, it delivered one final warning. The Voidborn were never intended to leave their galaxy. Something had driven them outward. Something powerful. Something dangerous. The transmission ended before identifying what that threat was. The chamber became silent. Human scientists exchanged worried looks. The same thought entered everyone's mind. If something had frightened the creators of the Voidborn, what could possibly be powerful enough to do that? Back on Earth, General Torres received the expedition report. She read the final lines twice. Then she looked toward the stars. Humanity had survived one great war. But the universe was larger than anyone imagined. And somewhere beyond the darkness, a new mystery was waiting. A mystery far more dangerous than the Voidborn. The galaxy was finally at peace. But peace would not last forever. Because beyond the edge of known space, something was watching. The end. Rocket Milky Way.